Welcome back. I'm Alfred Lamont Weber, at least I think I am. I've discovered so many things in the last few days. This panel is yet another discovery of many dimensional identities. And this is an extraordinary panel because this is the first in a new series of oral histories on Exopolitics TV. And this is to bring together individuals who have had multidimensional experiences of extraordinary significance. And multidimensional experiences, as we all know, are such that one can have an extraordinary multidimensional experience, and then you come back to the 3D world, which is continuing to, the traffic's running and everything is happening, and you go to tell the people, and they're just continuing in the 3D, down the traffic lanes, crossing the streets, and inside everything, and all the routines. And if you don't have evidence, it's very hard to prove that you just had this enormous multidimensional experience. And I speak for experience because I had my first multidimensional experience of great scale in February of 1973. And it is from that my current journey, that is where my current journey began in a certain way. And so this series now, of which this is one of the first examples, is bringing together a panel of Aurora, who is coming to us from South Africa, and Wendy, who is coming to us from an undisclosed location. And for privacy reasons, Wendy has chosen to remain off camera, which is fine. This panel arose because within days of each other, from different parts of the planet, both Wendy and Aurora emailed me, and they didn't know each other beforehand, and neither knew me. I didn't know them, and we had not met in person. They emailed me saying that each of them separately had placed golden rods through the axis of the Earth, from the top of the Earth down to the bottom of the axis, that had, in a way, stabilized the Earth and led to equilibrium, and are still operating and had been part of the shift into the positive timeline that we're now on. And that really led me to, I said, wow, this is amazing, because I've been working on the positive timeline, and I've developed a series of equations, which you can go to positivetimeline.info. There's the equation of the positive future equals the positive timeline plus unity consciousness. And so when Aurora and Wendy contacted me separately, each of these was, in scientific terms, their case studies or evidence that support a hypothesis, support an equation, that is the positive timeline equation. And when you have two individuals approach you with identical stories, within a short period of time, that adds the element of synchronicity. So you have two cases, two independent cases, which in the scientific method adds a few more points as to whether, well, we have to weigh this and look at it. So that's why we're bringing these cases to you. And those of you who uh, really say, well, I've got to go through life with the scientific method, especially in these paranormal areas, which I can understand, and who demand replicable data from the scientific method, which I can understand, because there's so many wild theories out there, especially in interdimensional experiences. We hope that this panel will bring perspectives and insights to you that are of value, and certainly that scientifically reinforce the positive timeline, so that you, in turn, if you're on the fence about the positive timeline, or if you're still letting the catastrophic timeline run you, those memes like, oh, is there going to be World War III? Well, you might consider jumping off of all those memes and getting into the new reality that it appears scientifically exists, and that is that we're on a positive timeline. So what we're going to do is that in our panel, we'll first start with Aurora for about 20 minutes, in which she'll describe her goldenrod experience, goldenrod Earth axis experience. And then we'll switch to Wendy, and she'll describe her goldenrod experience. And then after that, we'll switch to a panel. And what often happens in this panels is that we start out with expectations down here, and by the end of the panel, the outcome is somewhere way up here, because you have all of these interactive elements that really expand everyone's understandings, because everyone comes to the table with new insights. So it's all additive. It's not either or. No one's taking away from each other. It's not a debate. It's really everyone's bringing holistic parts and bringing them together to even a fuller hologram. So having said that, Aurora, thank you very much. If you could, just in as full as you can, if you could explain to us you started out when you first wrote me, you said, recently, about 1 month ago, I plunged into the earth a goldenrod, energetically the size of both poles. This goldenrod reverberates on the frequency that the earth would need. This rod runs from north to south, connecting to the noosphere. In turn, creates a field almost like two loops on both sides. This like a dynamo. And this system has a complete change and is balanced. This means all outcomes have been reestablished. It was a transmutation. And it changes negative intentions into positive intentions. So I've kind of crystallized it there, but could you please take it from the beginning and take us into the goldenrod and the center of the earth? Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred, for the opportunity to present my experience. Wendy, thank you. Well, in order for me to explain how this goldenrod experience took place, I need to go back a few lifetimes ago with regards to the work that I've done. I was asked by a group of beings called the One whether I could participate in reestablishing the balance of the earth. To me, mankind is very important, so At the time, there was a dispute, a political dispute between certain extraterrestrial races when humans came onto the Earth, and well, the imbalance from there on sort of escalated. The work that I do is basically I have certain tools that I use. I use gold, silver, copper, lead. I use those elements um, in terms of, well, to strengthen my creative abilities. And since then, I've been working to place certain energy structures into the earth from there on. I actually did this because I believe that humanity deserves a chance. Everybody seems to think that humanity, you know, even humanity itself seems to think nothing of itself. So I actually think, you know what, no, these guys deserve to get a bit of a kickstart in terms of energy. They, you know, so I decided I'm going to be doing this. My Golden Rod experience took place about, and I actually got the date, was 2 February of 2015, where I was experiencing a um, out of body experience in a semi lucid dream state. I cannot explain that specifically. So I saw myself extend out from the earth, and I plunged a great pillar of gold energy from the North Pole into the South Pole. And this basically is vibrating. It's sending out a frequency that is correlating to the heart, the heart center energy. If certain elements on the planet is not based on or has not correlated to that frequency, um, it will become. It is now. It is now happening. Now what happens is from the north to the south, there's a field of energy that's created on the one side, and then there's a field of energy from the south to the north, and this creates something like a dynamo effect, as I've mentioned. And this dynamo consists out of the positive timeline um, and the unity consciousness, which in turn works around each other using electromagnetic energy. And in this, it creates a time stream which cements the positive timeline. That's how I can explain that. So basically, that's when I planted this uh, pillar into the earth, and every day since then, I've been connecting to this frequency of this pillar and uh, expanding it out through the earth and the universe. It goes very far. Um, this is a process that's called transmutation. So what's basically happened to humanity is they have become, their DNA structures have become affected. Thus, everything that they could have been that was negative has changed. It's affected their DNA in such a manner that uh, they can't not experience the positive timeline. And it is in a sense of balance that it is taking place. So if things feel a little bit disarrayed at the moment, it shows you just how out of balance your life was in terms of how it's becoming now. Um, so this is also dealing with fear that humans are experiencing. So humans are being given something like an adaptogen sort of energy within themselves to adapt to the changes, basically giving them a gap to actually adjust to the changing of the Earth's frequency. I do not believe that it is necessary to um, scare people immediately with too strong currents of energy. It doesn't work. Um, Everybody basically on the planet is an earthling, so it affects everybody. And this means there are extraterrestrial beings on the earth as well. Um, and then there are soulless beings on the earth as well. Anything and everything that has a living force of energy inside of it is experiencing this balance that's taking place. Um, so then what I've also found was I want to confirm your positive timeline by explaining what I've seen through my dreams and my experiences. Is I've seen that the beings that were asleep, they're actually returning to the noosphere. That is a place which has taken over the original um, gates of heaven, or the place where people go when they pass out of their body. This is where you actually have your free choice. So you can go there and you can choose and you can decide whether you really do want to come back and experience a new change or not. It's completely up to you. You're not going to be forced to be recycled in any type of system anymore. You'll also remember exactly everything of yourself. Um, the soulless beings are basically 50% of the planet's population. These are beings that were created for the purposes of to take over like suits. Um, it, they return back to the source from where they come from, because we cannot waste energy. We have to reuse energy. It's always been that way, where we have to reuse energy. So there's no waste in energy in any way. I also saw a group of controlling people, politicians, known politicians, which I do not care to name at this stage, where they were standing in the gutters and they were basically without jobs. They didn't have anything to do. The balance and the change in the positive timeline is that great that whatever they were busy doing, it's almost as if you shifted them out of their office, that they don't have anything else to do anymore. So it's leaving them in a sort of a redundant state of existence. Um, Also, there's been a great deal of things that have taken place on the planet, and I've seen that it's often given the feel of the sacrificial lamb, where people behave as if they're in a sacrificial state of existence. So I call it the sacrificial lamb, and they're actually waking up from being the sacrificial lamb. So if you can't have something to sacrifice because it's walked away from you, then you can't carry on with your sacrifice because the lamb's just woken up. You know, basically that's sort of the idea that I'm trying to explain. Um, in terms of the next dream, which I'm going to explain, I've had this also as an out of body experience, also a lucid dream state, and this was on the 2nd of March 2015, where I dreamt that I heard a word called nightshade. I saw Arabian desert. I heard Arabian music. I would interpret it as Arabian music, and I heard the surname Netanyahu. I interpreted this as Benjamin Netanyahu, and it was given to me that I am having to assassinate his speech, not him, but his speech. So basically,
By his speech, you mean the speech that he was going to give in
yes,
the U.S. Congress that was very
correct,
controversial because it was unconstitutional.
correct,
Okay.
correct. The outcome of that speech was to leave himself and those who were listening to it in a dumbfounded state, so that there would be nothing to. It would be as if uh, a useless husk in the wind sort of feel when you would listen to it, and he is going to be made to retire, and he will do this himself. He will retire himself. I think people just need to just um, uh, get to the point in their state of mind where they'll realize, okay, whatever. It's just rambling, ramblings of a madman. That's what I mean by dumbfounding the speeches.
Right. So what you're saying is that you were directed in the interdimensional state to go in and work with the timelines in the speech.
Yes.
Is that what you were directed to do?
Correct. Correct. Well, it's almost as if I can explain how that works on an energy level, it's you take a blanket and you shake, and everything that was on the blanket is in the air, and you can basically decide which element you can bring down to fall on the blanket or which one you can remove. So I experience time as a spatial where I see all the events taking place at the same time. And that's based on that. I believe that it was going to cause a great, serious disaster, and it was also going to create a great deal of fear.
Of fear.
Um,
Yeah. Now,
fear.
this is being recorded on Friday, March 13th, and the Israeli election is on Tuesday, March 17th, 2015. When did you have your dream, more or less?
I had this on the 2nd of March.
On the 2nd of March. And
Yes.
his speech, of course, was on the 3rd of March, 3/3,
Yeah.
2015.
This that I had dreamt does not just say one, does not work for one speech only. It works to basically retire him. He is going
I
to
see.
retire.
So you basically intervened in his timeline because
Yes.
he was a major disruptor of the
Yes.
positive timeline.
Yes. Correct.
Now landed, and so there were instructions to remove him peacefully from
That's
a
right.
disruptive timeline by
Yeah.
retiring him from public life, but
That's right.
in a way by intervening from the timelines. That is holographically.
Mm.
Uh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's pretty much how it works. I've always been able to experience time in as I see it in all the layers.
Now,
So yeah.
have you ever been asked to do something like this before?
I've been asked to do certain things before, but never by anything that is here on this current planet or anything that is outside from anywhere. I believe that I am telling myself these things and that I've also been given the decision making process myself. So I can intervene if I feel that I have to based on what I'm experiencing or what is happening at the moment. So I was given this how can I explain permission to do this.
Yeah. Now, if you look into the literature on the dimensional ecology, it says, oh, yes, well, spiritual beings can intervene in, human life, and souls, can come in and, people's guides. And of course, there's divine intervention, to guide people's life, but always there's free will. And so this is you inside as a being that have gone dimensionally and intervened in his timelines for a great good, presumably, because is this the one that asked you to do that?
Yes, the one is a collective group of beings that have experienced many layers of lifetimes and events. Um, as as I understand the one, it is something that has supersedes the whole understanding of the word God. It is something that has always been there in charge of a certain sense of balance and harmony and love and all of those. So I would say, if I could just call it, I'd say, it's the source. Except I can explain that it's many beings that make up this entity or this source. So it supersedes the God aspect.
Right.
And yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah.
basically given this.
Yeah. Now, getting back to the golden rod experience that you said was February 2nd, 2015,
Yeah.
2015. Of what import was that? What was that like to cement the positive timeline? Was there any particular thing happening that you were directed to put that goldenrod into the axis and put it on a certain frequency?
That's correct. The first thing that had to happen was to have an event start off. It's almost as if you want to set the machine, if you want to throw a stone into a pond of water or a dam, you have to, if you want to start the cycle if you want to start the cycle up, you have to create an event. And it has to be a positive event correlating to the positive timeline. And it has to be done in with regards to the awareness of the unity consciousness. So that was the first thing that had to take place of this timeline event. And there are many others that are actually coming. I've had a few other dreams since then. And then, yeah, other experiences after that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much that.
Right. And what led you to write me? Did you have a particular impulse? Was this something that because you wrote me about maybe a week or so, a week to 10 days after Wendy contacted me with her experience.
Okay.
What?
Okay.
So I'm just trying to see what prompted you to share your experience, because it was when your experience came in, I said, oh my Lord, there's 2 goldenrod experiences. This is something scientific. What was there a voice that told you contact Alfred at this point?
You know what's the funniest thing is your face came to my mind.
Oh, my face.
Yes. And I realized that obviously I needed to contact you. It was almost as if I was under the idea that you were asking me to give you insight. So I did.
Uh-huh. So that's part of the dimensional ecology. There's a model called PMIR, Psi-Mediated Instrumental Response. And that model has been around. It was first published in the Journal of the American Society for Psychical Research journal in around the mid-1970s. And what it says is that all conscious information, like you're having a vision of my face and then saying, I've got to send him this information, is derived by subconsciously derived psychic information. It's like there's an enormous subconscious psychic network among humanity, and we're like the little tips of the iceberg, all of us. And that's why the world works so well. And when you run into a friend accidentally on a street corner, accidentally, and you exchange valuable information, well, that was all prearranged. And now with the internet, it just exponentially increases the number of interactions. You don't have to walk around, bumping into people, but you can do it many different ways. Watching them on video, contacting them in chat rooms, all sorts of stuff. But so by that theory, Wendy would have contacted me. Wendy and I would have set up a discussion. That would have sent out some kind of a signal, and you would have picked up that particular signal, which then was transmitted out. Now you have a theory about the goldenrods and the 3 of us. Could you explain that, or?
This theory that I have is also confirmed by what I feel and what I sense, because I believe it's quite important. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. This experience is what I would like to explain is that we are forming a 3rd meeting called the Triunity, and triunity was created in the beginning of time before humanity came to existence. And it was done with the intention of bringing forward a new civilization because the Lyrians were busy dying out. So the creation of humanity had to come into fruition. It was basically three beings were myself, an Orion being, and originally a Syrian being. Now, since then, since the timelines have changed, the Syrian being has stepped out of the picture for now, and the what is now going to cement the new changes, the positive timeline, is the arbitrator, Andromedan arbitrator, which is you.
Me.
And then, yes,
Right.
and when
We'll get into that later in the the program. We should say at this point that we are having to re-record this first part of the panel, your presentation, and the first part of Wendy's, about the first 10 minutes or so, because some outside agency, which we could, get into all sorts of things, identifying what they trace back to, um, intervened and destroyed that. So we are recreating what we recorded earlier, although the second part of the panel is fine. Okay, so do you feel that you've really sort of accomplished an important mission by engaging in the goldenrod's operation with the Earth's axis, and then by intervening with the Netanyahu timeline over the past month, and then by bringing together and kind of activating this triunity meeting? Do you feel that that's kind of a whole package? Do you feel complete with that? That does this feel good to you, or like it's something that you've operation kind of a universe accomplishment, that this is something that had to be accomplished and communicated out to our fellow humans on the planet?
I really do believe that I've thought about this, and my new understanding towards it is that this goldenrod is basically destroying creates an element called the New World Order. It's basically a created collective virus, if I may say this. And this virus is like all kinds of viruses in control. It takes control of the body and it feeds off and carries on staying, it's sick, and it makes the host sick. If I can also explain that the New World Order, from what I've seen, what the energy looks to me like, is that it was designed along with a strong artificial system, which is very elaborate and very expensive boogeyman. That's pretty much what it is, and it was designed with the strength to create fear. That's all it's doing is fear mongering. It's creating fear in all ways. And if people get a little bit more brave, then they kill a few people here and there, then they get scared again. And that's what they've been doing. They're keeping that frequency going. The elements that are being used has greatly to do with religious structures, political structures, media, music, you name it, etc. I'm going to say etc. And so wherever you see any expression of soul's energy, that is where you will see this virus in action. the reason this virus is specifically working so hard is because of the only small thing that humans are that everything that is alive has. It's called a soul. And the soul is an infinite creative power or spark that comes from the one. That's why it's so important. That was so important for me to step in. They asked to explain. Um, this creative life spark gives the map of creation inside of man, and that's also the last place they will always look is within themselves as well. Um, to control the soul is to control life, basically. So that's where they're going towards. And if you can have a slave if you can control someone, you can have a slave forever. That is where that is what this virus is making sure is happening. So basically, it gains the power of your soul, your creative ability, your strength, and it leaves you by exerting a great deal of fear, it also paralyzes you and leaves you feeling powerless. I'm saying feeling powerless. You're not powerless, but you're made to feel that you are powerless, and that then you just give up, and your soul is then vulnerable, and they can go through your six senses and start draining all of your energy with regards to violence, mind control, and exploitation in every form. And media seems to be the first and foremost hub or element that's being used. I often refer to media as Medea, Queen Medea, where she slaughtered her children. That's an old Greek mythological story, which is quite interesting as well. This virus is actually, this virus, or what is known as the New World Order, is being destroyed through a process called transmutation. Transmutation is an alchemical process which I use a great deal. It basically is got to do with turning lead into gold, where lead has to be worked on to so that the full potential of lead can the lead must experience the full potential of gold. So therefore, it has to go through a few processes before it can actually become gold. It's an alchemical process. Um, all of these negative timelines that there was, these events and these wars, these dramas, and all of these things that have happened, these old orders, even religious structures, all of these things have basically been turned upon itself now because of this rod. This rod's frequency has extended on the time with the positive timeline. It is time that is folded upon itself. So taken the negative elements and folded upon itself. It's just basically you would find the virus digesting itself. In short, this is what's happening, and this is why. Well, yeah, that's pretty much what's happening, and it's a daily process because every day the energy of this rod or is being charged up to maintain the frequency until a certain period of time, and I cannot tell you because I do not see that event yet. So it is happening.
Good, good. Well. Thank you very much. We've actually gone about 10 minutes over, but that's good because you got a lot of the detail and a lot of the mechanism, and you've described some of the time science. And I can say from and you can go to our book on the omniverse, and it describes dimensional beings at the soul level, and it sounds like the one, maybe what we call a soul cluster, are assigned to come in and work on things like time in a particular universe. They adjust time because, good.
Thank you, Alfred. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, because you have just provided a tremendous amount of validation for the positive timeline, for the mechanisms of the positive timeline, for the relationships between time and all of these things, the time in the multiverse and the omniverse, and it's just very, very good. So what we'll do now is that we will bring in Wendy for her 20 minutes of fame. Wendy.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us, Alfred.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, you actually started all of this when you contacted me, and you said that on May 28th, 2012, you had, among other things, gone to the center of the earth and along with others had inserted rods through the axis of the earth, and that had a lot of tremendous benefits. And I know that you'll be talking about that in the part 2 of the panel coming up that we did salvage. There's a part 2 that has 2 hours of panel discussion on this. And so for right now, for about 10 minutes, if you could give us an introduction. I know that you wanted to mention something about today being Friday, March the 13th. And here we have the miracle of the three of us coming together and of Aurora suddenly, having her experience on February 2nd, 2015, her golden rod experience, which was necessary. So could you, for the next 10 minutes or so, give us an introduction as to how you got to that golden rod experience and how you got here?
Yes, thank you. Excuse me a moment. Pardon me. Alfred, before I begin, I would like to again thank you, Aurora, for answering the call, for coming forward and doing the work you're doing. It's a real blessing for me to be here today with the three of us, and I am almost speechless with how much gratitude I have, because I want to just briefly comment on what you said, Aurora. I have had awareness that I'm one creator being for a long time. To be very, very, very quiet. And I have never come forward with it until this minute. And what brought me to come here, what brought me to contact you, Alfred, is the way things are going on the planet right now, in finance, in politics, in religion, and the general attitude, the things that are happening in the mainstream media, the things that are not happening in the mainstream media, a lot of what's not being said. All of this together is what prompted me to know within that it was time. And as I mentioned with you, I have said many times, I don't know how to talk about my life. I don't know how to talk about this story because I've never been willing to bring it out to anyone. Because it was imperative that I survive of what the three of us are doing right now. It was imperative that I be very, very, very careful. So I don't know how to talk about it, and I apologize for that, and I thank all of you for dealing with me and my fumbling along through it. I'm ecstatic that Aurora showed up because I haven't been able to talk to you in a way that made sense to you because the whole thing is so multidimensional, and no one has come forward to talk about what we did in 2012 on May 28th. So it's been quite a journey watching the scene, watching you and all of your work and what Stephen Greer has done and what everything has happened because of what we did on May 28th. All of these things were able to happen because if we had not done what we did, if we had not broken up the grid on May 28th, none of this would be taking place because the grid was too controlling. So it's all of this that brought me forward to you and to all of us, and I'm so thankful for this day. So the way my story began is, you know, we're re-recording today. So everybody's saying things we didn't say yesterday. And I want to mention before I get started again, there's a few things I just want to say before I go into my personal life. And that is, number one, this is Friday the 13th. This is exciting because we're talking about the physical action steps that are taking place to physically have us in the new positive timeline, where it's not just theory or we're hoping or wishing. Aurora and I are two beings that are physically responsible for making this happen. And you, Alfred, are physically responsible for solidifying it, being the willing partner to be with us in this communion that we're giving to the world. Friday the 13th has always been a very big secret for the old control system with their witchcraft, with all of their modalities that come from the ancient mystery schools before the Judeo-Christian world began. So all of this is manipulation. And for us to be speaking on this day cracks it straight open. It puts a big pierce in the hole of it all. Because what we've got on the planet are a whole lot of people who think they understand energy. And a whole lot of people who think they know metaphysics because they went to school or because they took this class or because they know how to levitate or they might be psychic or they might hear voices or whatever. All kinds of things make people think things and make them think they know. But what I've experienced in my personal life has been so amazing that at some point right now, I kind of almost feel like I don't even know anything. It's like I know everything and I don't know anything because every single metaphysical thing I've experienced has been tried. And what I've experienced is that some of the metaphysical things that I've experienced were holograms that were created just to confuse me. I've had things take place that were so scary for me that it led me into 30 years of digging and educating myself to get to the day, this moment right here. So all of that is what made me come forward. And of course, I didn't see that we would be speaking on the Friday the 13th, but the fact that we are, this is massive because it destroys any energy, any idea that anybody is doing with this day. It totally fills the space with the new timeline so that every single spell, every single intention, every single ancient thing that Aleister Crowley did is being unraveled right now. It's being rendered totally ineffective. So this is very, very thrilling to me that we're meeting today. I am totally thankful that they screwed up the technology and made us record again today. Because I see it as even them knowing that they had to do this. You see, they have to be in submission right now. All the dark beings that have been controlling the humans that are either alien humans, hybrid humans, soulless humans, indigenous humans, whatever combination. those dark entities and that matrix artificial intelligence that's been controlling everybody has no more authority. Lucifer lost the game, and all of his creations knew that he would lose the game a long time ago, and knew that they were going to die, and knew that their only hope was to try to get into human bodies. And that's why they started abducting, 50, 60 years ago. Now, they've always been doing this all along, but this has been a big push with these alien races wanting to survive, knowing they're not going to, because they're temporal. They were created for the experiment. What was the experiment? We didn't get into this. I'm so happy we're recording. The experiment is simply something that Lucifer and his minions wanted to see if they could kill eternal essence that was here on the planet before they got here. That's all it was. Now, all of these stories about how we got here as humans, where we come from, there was an original creation here. And I know that my being, that I am, is one of the beings that came here to mess with that original creation. And I have to take responsibility. Now, I did not participate. My children did. The beings that we created are the beings that screwed everything up. Now, that whole story is very long, and we need to come back and do another recording and talk about that in depth. But my responsibility for being a creator being is what brought me here. I have to help end the garbage. My children screwed up. My children and the male energy screwed up. And so did the female energy. We all screwed up. And it's okay. I forgive everybody. I love everybody. We have to wake up. Now, Netanyahu, the ambassador, Obama, Bush, Clinton, all these people, and all the whole crew, all the pretenders, that the family that's been controlling everybody behind the scenes, and all the pretenders that they have in politics all over the planet. Everybody is not everybody, but critical mass knows, as we go into later on in our talk, critical mass knows that we have corporations, not governments. Critical mass knows that we have a whole huge global mess, and nobody knows what to do. And some of the military now know, and some of the people that are working as attorneys and judges are realizing that what's happening, and they're scared. Everybody's scared. Everybody, all the politicians, all the people working for the federal organizations, they're all scared. And so my intention in coming forward, Alfred, is to share a message to say, please don't be afraid anymore. There's no need to be afraid anymore. That was the old paradigm. We don't have a new world order. That didn't happen. The new world order, we have to stop giving them credit and calling them the new world order, because they're not. They failed. Even Kissinger, wasn't it Kissinger that said that last year, or was it the year before? He admitted that the thing was failing. So we have to stop using the language new world order, because in my mind, they're gone. And they know it, because they would have been effective, and they're not. And so the point is of this recording, Aurora and I are here to say, please understand that whatever you're doing is failing, because we're not in that timeline. We shifted it. And while your scientists don't understand that, and while your wizards and your witches and metaphysicians don't understand, because they were programmed through the matrix, it's okay. Everybody can get over it. We made it to the new timeline. You survived. So instead of being angry with us and trying to stop us all the time, what about showing a little gratitude that we saved your lives? Because in 2012, you were all expecting to go. And you didn't. Now, there was this idea that, okay, we were going to be able to kill everybody off, and that's why May 28th had to happen. They were going to use the bodies as robots. It didn't happen. So they've been like, oh, what are we going to do now? Everybody's all scared and freaked out because every single thing they're doing is failing, and it will continue to do that. So the point of coming here is to say, please understand, physically, we shifted to a different timeline so that every single plan you have that's based on greed, fear, power, control is failing and will continue to fail because it's not here anymore. Now, with these plans that we talk about further on in the program with the ambassador and what he's doing, I just want to simply say, I really respect every single effort that anybody's doing to try to do something positive, but unless you guys, ambassador and family that are controlling the finances, unless you guys come forward and say, we've always been in control and we don't know how to let go of control and we want to share this journey, it's not going to work. You can't come at humanity and say it has to go this way because that's just more control. And all the money needs to be put back into the hands that it belongs to. People need to stop the games. This is a fear factor, as Aurora was saying. This is a mind program that's even affecting the one that you referred to, Aurora, the one. Now, I've been dealing with them. They need correction because while they are love, they are also duality. They also encourage the people in control to have wars. And that has to stop. They have to be corrected. The one, the emperor, or whoever people want to call this. I've been dealing with them now for the last 2.5 years. They have to stop the games. They have been controlling everything and everyone along with the Matrix. Now, there are scientists, there are alchemists, there are metaphysicians, there are wizards and witches that are a part of making it happen in the physical. And all these people are freaked out because their stuff isn't working.
Now, could I jump in here because
yeah,
we're on about 7 minutes over.
Okay.
Tell me, it's almost 20 minutes, and what's going to happen is that for those of you who move on to part 2, which I hope you will, because there you'll really begin to get into Wendy talking about her May 28th, 2012 goldenrod experience, which really helped allow the Earth move beyond December 21st, 2012 into the new timeline. So we're going to be wrapping up this part of the panel shortly. Do you have any final words, like a sentence or two that you'd like to state for this introductory part, Wendy?
I thank you for keeping us on track with the time. Yes, I would like to say that we've all agreed that we need to have further discussion because we need to give everybody Aurora and I need to give everybody support and instruction on how to go forward, because with us leaving the old modalities behind, the old paradigm, the old timeline, the old modalities have to be changed. We can't hope to take the old witchcraft, the old zodiac, the old geometry, all these things. These things are the old system, and what I would like to have everybody feel very secure about is knowing that everyone is loved and appreciated, and that we can all heal together. To describe many of the metaphysical things that took place leading me up to my experience becoming a goldenrod. And I would like to close with that in saying that whenever I need to, I go back into that place and amp it up. And the others have shown me that they are there holding a very solid, strong pattern in every direction on the planet. There are several golden rods rooted in the center from May 28th, 2012 that have never left. And they are amping up, and they go in every direction. And so there's nothing that anybody can do about it except go with the flow of knowing that we made it, and now we can all help each other heal. And there has to be support for understanding the different voices that talk to us. People think they're schizophrenic, and they're not. People think they're crazy, and they're not. The voices they're going to hear. This is a long run-on sentence. Thank you for giving me this moment. What's going to happen right now is a lot of these people are going to have to face what's happened. The families are going to have to look at the parents. The parents are going to have to look at the kids with who's been a criminal looking like they're a good citizen. And we have to understand that the churches have been poisoned by the control system, and they've been given a lot of money to be able to replace FEMA in the United States. And this is a very dangerous thing that's taking place. We have to come back and talk about that. And we have to help people understand that what you're going to hear in the rest of this interview is going to shake you up. And I want you to please know that it's because we have to tell you the truth. And you all deserve to know that there's a power that's greater than any science on this planet. Otherwise, we wouldn't all be alive right now. And we just need to know that everybody has the opportunity to calm down and understand that fear is only a program. And when you feel fear, whether you're in the military, whether you're a colonel, a general, a president, congressman, attorney, judge, surgeon, educator, parent, police officer, thug on the street, I don't care. All of you have the right to heal, and all of you have the right to know that fear is only a program, and you're capable of allowing yourself to not be controlled by it anymore, and you're capable of using your mind to get into the other energy that you know is also there, your kindness. And if you're a being that doesn't have kindness or compassion, I want to say that's a lie. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't be so angry with the ones who do, because you've learned jealousy, you've learned love, you've learned these things here. So let yourself be the thing that you want, because you can. And we can do this. So that's what I want to say. Thank you for giving me that extra breath.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Wendy. Thank you very much, Aurora. And thank you very much, audience with us. Please continue over to part 2 of the panel on the goldenrod experience. This is a whole part of the parallel and deeper part of the reality that we're experiencing here on Earth, but it's what's moving the reality here on Earth if you really want to see how the reality here on Earth is constructed and controlled, and how we've shifted over to a new ground of being collectively. And so I want to thank you, and we'll see you all in part 2. Thank you.